What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Nick Belsky. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they got hit with the injury bug, and we already knew what was to come, but now we know specifics on where they stand with their missing offensive lineman, who will replace him, and why the situation is much stranger than we thought it would ever be. Meanwhile, Ben Roethlisberger's podcast is back, and he had some words on Russell Wilson. We'll dive into that and some very, very, very hot takes on the Pittsburgh Steelers captain's choice and a just weird situation overall from a former player. We'll dive into all that plus more, and as we do every single day, we will answer all of your questions, so make sure that you toss them in the chat throughout the show. Nick, it's a good one here in the Berg. Spent the weekend, did a little camping for my buddy's birthday. You know, that's always our end of the summer, get ready for the football season type of getaway. It was nice. They made fun of me a lot because I kept writing about football while staring at a lake, but it was still a good time. How you feel, my friend?
I'm feeling great. It's a Tomlin Tuesday, which was fun. It's also Taco Tuesday, so I'm also smelling tacos in the crock pot as I'm recording this, chicken tacos. So it's a little bit more motivation to talk about football, to get football done, and then to go eat some tacos on Taco Tuesday. So obviously, I'm doing great over here.
That's fantastic. If we're going to be honest. That sounds immaculate, actually. Shout out to your wife. I won't lie to you.
I made the tacos. Come on now.
We'll ask. We'll find out. We'll find out the answer there. You the chef in the house? Are you the cook?
She's better than me. I do it more often, but crockpot stuff is easier.
How is she better than you, but you're cooking? You guys are allowing you to cook more.
Because I'm good enough. Good enough to get the job done. And that way she doesn't have to cook, which is a nice balance there. But special meals, it's all her.
100%. I won't lie to you. Taco Tuesday sounds fantastic. I will spend the rest of my evening, for one, watching a Pirates game, and for two, cleaning out my old apartment because we finally got our get out of here date, and it's coming up real fast. So we'll be sweating over there and having a good time because I won't lie to you, I took all the ACs out. So shout out to 918 Farragut Street. Find me there. Let's talk about some Pittsburgh Steelers news and notes. Mike Tomlin spoke today, the first Tomlin Tuesday of football season. It officially is back. And it's funny, I was telling you before the show, Mike started talking during the press conference, and he was kind of riled up. Like, you could tell he was excited. It was a good day for him. And then he starts talking, and the production crew is like, whoa. Not yet. And then it just went back to normal Mike Tomlin Tuesdays. And I was laughing. I was like, this guy he had a little pep in his step walking in there. It was good to see. So plenty of notes. Obviously, the injury news from Isaac Seumalo, but Mike dove into a lot more. And I know we got some nuggets here. What do you got for us?
Yeah, let's actually start with that Isaac Seumalo news. He was the only player that was officially ruled out for week 1 against the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, we all expected him to miss the first handful of weeks. Mike Tomlin said he is officially week to week, but we expect him to miss several weeks going into this season. Seumalo officially out. Also, though, good news, Troy Fautanu is back on the practice field. So you lose one offensive lineman for the week, but you get another one potentially getting ready to suit up in week 1.
Yeah, it's a tough loss for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we knew Isaac Seumalo was not going to play this week, but just to have it confirmed, I will say that it was good news because Tomlin made it very clear, like, hey, we're hoping to have him back sooner rather than later. And that was massive because I thought Isaac was going to be done for a month, maybe a little bit longer, possibly toss him on IR. It seems as if he will avoid all of that, which is huge news for the Steelers. And I'm excited to see who replaces him, how we dive into this, the younger guys for a couple of weeks. And yeah, the Atlanta Falcons have some dudes, and obviously the Broncos have some dudes, and the Chargers have some dudes, but this is a good test without anything crazy to toss at guys like Mason McCormick and Spencer Anderson to see how they adjust and to see how ready they are, and that's really what I'm most excited about. I don't think this is the worst news in the world for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's obviously a massive blow, but to come in here optimistic, I think was a good sign, and they really dodged a bullet in this one and potentially dodged a better one by getting Seumalo back earlier than expected.
Yeah, when the initial prognosis is he might be out for the season and it comes down to he might only miss a handful of weeks, especially considering he's one of your most experienced offensive linemen, somebody that you were really going to lean on, especially, whether it's Dan Moore or Broderick Jones, lean on, especially with a left tackle that is going to need a little bit of time getting his feet underneath him and a rookie center as well. So I think it is huge news, of course, that Siamalu is not out as long as we initially expected. But one name you mentioned in there, Spencer Anderson, who is, as of right now, expected to be the leader in the clubhouse to start at left guard. We learned that earlier today, but what we also learned about Spencer Anderson is he's a backup tackle as well. Steelers hoping that trades master of none does not go hand in hand with Spencer Anderson. They're hoping that he's able to do a little bit of everything for them this season.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild that Mike Tomlin spoke in this press conference and at one point named Spencer Anderson the starter for week 1, and at the same time in the same conversation named him the backup tackle if Troy Fautanu does not play. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you take him off the field, say, hey, you are actually going to play jumbo tackle here. That's fine. We're going to give Dan Moore a breather. We'll either toss Mason McCormick in there or we just won't have a guard. That sounds good to us. It is nuts to me that the Pittsburgh Steelers are turning this direction. Now, obviously, in my head, it immediately made it somewhat clear that they are optimistic Troy Fautanu is going to play, that they feel they don't need to go out and get anybody, that things will be okay, that they will make it work. And on top of that, John LeGlue is not a bad player. And even if he isn't going to play much in this game, you could activate him or call him up from the practice squad and feel comfortable about him stepping into a very minimal role. I mean, playing that third tackle it's not rocket science. If you have to step in as an actual tackle, it gets much more complicated, but in short notice, you could come in here. Essentially, the jumbo tackle is the nose tackle of the offense, and you could be okay in that situation. He also spent the summer with the Atlanta Falcons, and that's probably going to help his case and the Pittsburgh Steelers line as a whole. But still, wild. But if you're going to take anything away from this, outside of the fact that Mike Tomlin announced that the starting guard is also the backup tackle, you should feel optimistic that Troy Fautanu is going to play, because it seems as if the Pittsburgh Steelers are pretty confident they'll get their rookie tackle back in week 1.
And that's not all the offensive line news. It seemed to be a theme today, as the one other discussion that happened and one other thing that Mike Tomlin mentioned is that Broderick Jones' status, as far as whether or not he's playing left tackle or right tackle, remains in the air. They said they'll let this week show them and guide them into what they're going to do. So Broderick Jones going into week 1, we're at Tuesday already. They're not sure which side of the line he's going to play on Sunday.
Yeah, it is. You could talk about Troy Fautanu. You could talk about Spencer Anderson playing 2 positions. You could talk about losing Isaac Siamalu. The most crazy thing, just eye-popping sentence that came from Mike Tomlin in this press conference was that it is still open for discussion on where Broderick Jones is going to play in week 1. What are we doing? We screamed at the top of our lungs all summer long, continuity. Make it work. Get the offensive line that you want. I don't care what that offensive line is, as long as they have time to work it out. You made Broderick Jones play right tackle all summer long. You spent very minimal time with Broderick Jones playing left tackle. And we are 4 or 5 days away from the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Atlanta Falcons in week 1, and Mike Tomlin still isn't sure what his starting offensive line is going to look like. That is nuts. And it is one thing to say, oh, we lost a guy, we don't know who's going to replace him yet. It's a whole other thing to say we might move our starting right tackle to the left side and bench our starting left tackle for a rookie who hasn't played since the first preseason game. It is nuts to me. That is, Mike Tomlin spoke about versatility in Broderick Jones' answer and how that is an asset of his. To be honest, it is a massive weakness of the Pittsburgh Steelers and of Mike Tomlin's that they look so heavily into versatility in offensive linemen. Nobody cares. With the Spencer Anderson, a 7th round, you got to prove it to make this team situation. A Kelvin Beachum, as Mike Tomlin referred to him as. I get it. As a 1st-round offensive tackle who is supposed to be the franchise left tackle of your organization, You don't need flexibility. I don't care if Broderick Jones can play across the entire line. You want to know what I care what he could do? Play left tackle well. That's all I care about. It is nuts to me that they still do not have a solidified spot for this guy or for their offensive line as a whole. And for those of you who are nervous about this becoming an issue, I would be equally as nervous because, man, you're asking for trouble. You're asking for trouble if you are this uncertain 4 days out from your game in week 1.
Yeah, and I'm not one to pick apart Mike Tomlin's press conferences because I know that he's obviously very calculated in the words that he uses, but he kind of, went back on his own words there because he said the Kelvin Beachum comparison. He said, yeah, he's somebody that came in with a lot of flexibility, which is the reason he was able to stick around. But then he found a specialty, and that's how he's been able to stay in the league for so long. And yes, Kelvin Beachum is still with the Arizona Cardinals organization, just to fact check that part. And in the same breath, he's saying, well, Spencer Anderson's our starting left tackle or left guard and our backup tackle. Broderick Jones can go left or right. We're not sure what we're doing here. So why aren't you letting these guys get into positions that they're expected to be in? I think that is a dangerous game that the Steelers are playing. But again, maybe it works out. Maybe they do get to move those guys where they want, and they can sit from week 1 to week 18 with Fautanu on the right and Broderick on the left, which would be good. But I think there is a lot of questions, especially considering the fact that Fautanu has not played in 4 weeks.
Yes. You are not starting Troy Fautanu in week 1. We all know they're not starting Troy Fautanu in week 1. I just don't. Maybe it was a calculated, we're going to just mess with the Falcons' heads. Maybe that was the move. But if it wasn't, and there are serious questions about what's going on, Tomlin's screwing up. And it's a big loss, and it's a big concern, and criticism is warranted in this situation.
Let's finish off the news and notes with a little discussion about everybody's favorite former quarterback turned podcaster, Big Ben, weighing in on the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback conversation, essentially saying the same thing we've all been saying. There really wasn't a quarterback battle, but he also thanked the Denver Broncos for paying Russell Wilson to come to Pittsburgh. He's very excited about Wilson becoming the Steelers starting quarterback. And like I mentioned, he agrees that there was not really a quarterback battle to be had in training camp.
Yeah, and I think at this point we all know that's true, but I think it actually, the reason that I wanted to add this is because I think it shows, and it's good to address that the fact that the Steelers kept preaching that this is a quarterback competition and actually gave Justin Fields some quality reps with the first team, even when Russ returned, showed that they do have some faith in this kid and that they do believe that he might be able to turn into something. And I think that's huge because the Steelers don't have an answer next year at quarterback. They don't know where they're going to go after this season. And maybe Russell Wilson's the guy for the next 2 or 3 years, but maybe Justin Fields is too. And I don't think that the Steelers really viewed him as that answer right as soon as he showed up. I don't think that they made the trade with the thought that Justin Fields is the quarterback for the next 5 years. But I think where we stand now, they say, maybe he is. Maybe we'll see what happens. Maybe we do have to get this guy involved. I think it was an uplifting moment to have a quarterback that has been here, that knows what a fake quarterback competition is, that knows how Mike Tomlin plays these games, to just express that and to be able to acknowledge, yeah, you know what? Maybe the Steelers didn't have good plans for Justin Fields or any plans at all, but they probably do now, or at least they're thinking about it because Justin Fields turned some heads.
And that's a wrap for our news and notes section. We'll come back with a little bit more from all Steelers talk. But first, a word from our sponsors over at DraftKings.
What's up, guys? It's football season, and we've teamed up with DraftKings. Right now, new customers who bet $5 will receive $250 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, you'll receive 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. It's hard to think of a better way to celebrate fall weather, your favorite jersey, and Sunday touchdowns than with the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings app and use our promo code ALLSteelers. That's $250 in bonus bets instantly and 1 month of NFL Plus Premium after betting just $5. Stay in the action and use your $250 in bonus bets to bet anytime touchdowns on DraftKings. DraftKings is the place to bet touchdowns. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You could still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code ALLSTEELERS and bet just $5 on any wager and get $250 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code ALLSTEELERS only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Shout out our boys over at DraftKings. I told you this yesterday. I'll tell you it again today. I'm excited to make some bets this weekend. And on top of that, I realized that not only do we get to make bets Thursday, but we also get to make bets Friday, which means that we either have no money or more money heading into Sunday, which that's a good weekend, my friends. That is a good weekend. Let's talk about some criticism surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers captain's choices, which of all things to criticize, captains just never strike me as one of them. I don't understand it. I saw everybody going off today all day long about how Stephon Diggs got named a captain for the Houston Texans. And to be quite honest, I don't care. We don't know how close these guys are in the locker room. We don't know who steps up in meetings or who's the vocal leader. We have no idea. We have no idea. If you asked me who the Steelers captains were coming into the season, I would have told you Russell Wilson, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, and Miles Killebrew. But if you asked me last year, I would not have put Kenny Pickett on there. If you asked me the year before, I would have not put Mitch Trubisky on there. But every year there is somebody that, we didn't see coming. Why? Because we don't know what's going on in the locker room. This year, Russell Wilson gets named captain. For those of you who are not aware, this is his 12th consecutive season. 12th consecutive season as captain in the NFL, which clearly shows that this guy knows how to be captain, knows how to be a leader, and the guys, they surround themselves with that, which that's what they should. He's a quarterback, and he's pretty good at it too, and he's been praised for years and years about his leadership. FS1's Emmanuel Acho, did I say that right? Acho,
yep,
said this morning that he's got an issue with it. Quote, I got an issue with Russell Wilson being named captain. Here's my issue with it. Russell Wilson, I believe, is one of the greatest men I have ever met in my life, which is a wild way to start. I don't agree that you should have named him captain. But he continues. We came into the National Football League together. Russell Wilson is probably one of the best leaders of men in society. Again, what? Continues. My issue is this. Don't name a captain you might bench. Nick, can I ask you this? Do you remember what happened with Mitch Trubisky a couple of years ago when he was the captain of the Pittsburgh Steelers?
He got punched in the face and then benched.
Yeah, he did. Both of those things happened, actually. But even if we just highlight the second one,
yeah,
he got benched. But guess what? He was a leader of men. He was a leader of the locker room. He was the starting quarterback. He was the guy that the Pittsburgh Steelers put their trust in to lead that organization. And even after he got benched, he remained the captain. He remained that guy, and nothing changed. And with Russell Wilson, he is hands down, zero questions asked, the most impressive leader the Pittsburgh Steelers have on the entire roster. We could talk Cam Hayward and TJ Watt on the entire roster. Russell Wilson just knows how to lead. That's just what he does. I have no issues with this. Why? Because for one, he's your starting quarterback. For two, the Pittsburgh Steelers have zero, and I cannot express this enough, zero anticipation that he will get benched during the 2024 season. We all might talk about it. People might say it's going to happen. If you ask Mike Tomlin, he'd laugh at you and tell you to shut up because he does not think it's going to happen. And the rest of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization feels the same. It makes zero sense not to name this guy captain. And who else are you going to name? You're going to put George Pickens up there? You're going to put Najee Harris up there? You're going to call Justin Fields and say, hey, the backup quarterback should be the captain, not Russell Wilson. It makes zero sense to me. Sometimes you just got to look at it and say, on the outside, I might not agree with this, but it makes a lot of sense. And to Emmanuel Acho, it doesn't make any sense. But quite frankly, he explained exactly why Russell Wilson should be captain, not once, but twice in that answer. And it blows my mind, my friend. It does not make any sense to me. Acho's been on this show, has been mentioned on this show more than once for his wild takes on a lot of things. This one's very high on the list of outrageous words, outrageous phrases, outrageous answers that has come out of that guy's mouth.
One of the primary reasons that Russell Wilson was brought into Pittsburgh was for his leadership. The Steelers wanted somebody in that room to be able to stand up and lead the way that a quarterback should lead in an NFL franchise. They haven't had that the last couple of seasons. They had a young guy in Kenny Pickett that, even if it wasn't Pickett, this is not a bash on Pickett. Most young guys aren't able to take control and take lead of NFL locker rooms right away. That's just a plain fact. It is a hard thing to do, especially coming in as a rookie with a lot of these guys like Cam Hayward, who are 33, 34 years old and are probably not in tune to listen to a 24-year-old when it comes to what they think and in their leadership styles. So they needed a leader. That's why Russell Wilson was brought in. So it should come as no surprise that he's going to wear the captain's patch. Like you mentioned, 12 straight seasons with it. Did they think they were just going to not give it to him, first of all? And second of all, would he have gotten it if Kenny Pickett was still the quarterback, the backup in Pittsburgh? Probably. Even if Kenny was considered to be the number one or the first round draft pick a couple years ago, the guy that's eventually going to supplant Russell Wilson, it still would have been Wilson as the captain going into this season. So I'm not surprised by this. And I'm more surprised that somebody else is surprised by this, to be completely honest.
It's wild to me. And to be honest, I mean, the craziest part of this whole thing is he says you can't name somebody captain who's going to get benched, as if Mike Tomlin names the captains, because he doesn't. They are voted on by the players. The players have voted that Russell Wilson should be their captain. So it doesn't make any sense. Again, wild takes. They come in and they come in hot and they never end. But, you know, we digress because we know why Russell Wilson's here. We understand why the Pittsburgh Steelers signed this guy. We understand why he's the starting quarterback and why Mike Tomlin refused to make him not the starting quarterback, no matter how much time he missed and how good Justin Fields looked at times during the offseason. Why? Because, well, Russell Wilson's a leader of men. Mike Tomlin's a leader of men, and that's why they're working well together. So shout out to Emmanuel Acho, but no, not about it. All right. When we come back, we want to answer all of your guys' questions. Michael, I see you. We're going to answer yours first, no doubt about it. Make sure that you're sticking around and tossing all your questions in the chat. But first, we got a word from our boys over at GameTime. Let's talk about GameTime. I could still taste the popcorn and the soda and smell the beer of my first Pittsburgh Steelers game. And yeah, the Jacksonville Jaguars might have won that day, but I will never forget how loud Heinz Field was and how rocking that stadium was on the North Shore. GameTime has this new feature called GameTime Picks that makes things like getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. GameTime Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I have an upcoming concert in Cleveland the day after the Pittsburgh Steelers play against the Browns, and instead of sitting there clicking on every single section, I'm just going to use GameTime Picks. Let's talk about why it's so great. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. On top of that, you get all-in pricing, which means that you get the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. On top of that, you get seat views because nobody wants to buy some nosebleed seats for cheap and take a guess on whether you're staring at a pole or you just got the greatest deal in the entire venue. Plus, the lowest price guaranteed, or GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. GameTime ticket coverage means that your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code ALLSTEELERS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code ALLSTEELERS for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, low prices, guaranteed. Shout out our boys over at GameTime. All right, let's dive into all of your questions. If you guys have more of them, please toss them in the chat. We'll make sure to answer every single one of them. Let's start with Michael's, and then I want to go vibing with the dogs because he's got to go one right after that.
All right, let's go to Michael. He says, dinner table check-in. Proposition. Right now, you and Nick pick all 8 division winners for the year. I'll put a $10 bet in for a parlay. If it hits, I'll send it to you and you do a subscriber giveaway. I like this. I like this. I'll let you lead off on this one.
All right, so let's do this. We'll match it. We'll make our own. We'll toss it in there. If we win it, we'll do a giveaway. If we don't win it, we'll still do a giveaway because you guys deserve a giveaway. So let's toss it out there right now. 8 division winners for the year. What do we got? Let's write them down too. We'll start with the AFC East. In my head, it's the ESPN calendar when you scroll over the NFL. That's how I look at it. The AFC East. Who do we got?
I'm going with the Miami Dolphins in the East. It was between them and the Bills. I think the Dolphins get over the hump and get that AFC East title this year.
Oh, okay. I was going Bills, but to be honest with you, the Dolphins are the safer pick. The Dolphins are the pick that, make the most sense, especially, that they had a good offseason. They obviously juiced up their running game with the evolution of A-Chain. Tua got signed, Waddle got signed, Tyreek got signed. They're out of money, but they are playing very well. My only concern is Xavier Howard's gone, which, don't get me wrong, he didn't play much last year, if at all, if I remember. But I don't know if they necessarily replaced them. That being said, I don't know who's catching footballs in Buffalo besides Keon Coleman, and rookies never are the answer. So I agree with you. We'll go Dolphins with the East. I like that one. What's South? Let's go South.
AFC South. I don't know if there's any other answer here besides the Houston Texans,
it's
unless
the Houston
you feel
Texans.
otherwise. Yeah,
it's the Houston Texans. 0 questions asked. If you're thinking Jacksonville, maybe, but I'm feeling the Texans. AFC North.
Oh, this is a tough one. I'll let you go first because you know what I'm thinking.
All right, so obviously Baltimore is the clear favorite. That's the easy answer. You got to think they're going to win a lot of games. Cincinnati, that's where it gets dangerous because if Cincinnati's healthy, if Joe Burrow's healthy all season long, Cincinnati's going to win this division. I'm sorry, but they are. That's just – I think Joe Burrow's the second best quarterback in the NFL. I think that team, when he is healthy, I don't care about the holes. He has a phenomenal receiving game. You can make it work. The running game is non-existent, which is not good, but the defense is pretty solid. Even without DJ Reader, I still think it's pretty good. I still think the easy answer is Baltimore. You could possibly toss the Steelers in there, but I still think the easy answer is Baltimore. Cincinnati might screw this one for us if they're healthy.
Yeah, I'll rock with you in Baltimore, but the one thing I will say about Cincinnati, I know it's all dependent upon Burrow, but every other year he's healthy and he does well. 2019, healthy, national championship for LSU. 2021, healthy, Super Bowl appearance. 2023, healthy. The year ended 2023, but the 2022 season, healthy, AFC championship, came down to the wire. 2024, I mean, it's tough, but I'll roll with you in Baltimore in this one.
Oh man, that's a good point though. That's a good point. We'll go Baltimore. That's the safe answer, but I will say that there is a lot of pieces of me that are saying that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to screw this one up for us. All right, the West, easiest answer in the book.
Yeah,
the Kansas City Chiefs.
The back-to-back Super Bowl champions are probably going to win their division.
I would guess that they're probably going to win the division, especially because I don't think anybody else is going to be good in that division. But the Chiefs is the easy one. All right, NFC East. Philadelphia, you got New York. I almost said New York. You got Philadelphia, you got Dallas. Who are you going? I'm feeling Philly.
Yeah, let's rock with Philly. I'm a little worried about them under Nick Sirianni. I'm a little worried about them going into this year, but honestly,
you don't trust Nick Sirianni.
I don't trust Nick Sirianni. You never trust a Nick. Okay, rule of life. So with that, I'll roll with you. They have the weapons to make me feel okay about it, but I think they've lost a little bit on the trenches on both sides, and not just Jason Kelce. I think they've taken a step back there, and that's been their bread and butter. But I'll roll with you with Philly.
Okay. Yeah, I like Nick Sirianni, but to be honest, it's more than that. It's the defense that is just stout, and it's the running game. Like Saquon is a monster, and you got their third string running back is Will Shipley. Like that should not happen. Okay, that should not happen. It's going to happen. I'm going Eagles. I'm feeling good about the Eagles. The NFC South, which is the worst division in football, possibly. But if I'm going to toss one out there, I think I'm going the Atlanta Falcons.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I mean, the closer we get to this, we'll do our game predictions on Friday. The closer we get to this, and the more I'm looking at Atlanta from the other side of things, they look like they could be a pretty dangerous team this season and an underrated team this season. So I'll go with the Atlanta Falcons with you 100%.
Yeah, it's just tough to bet. Kirk Cousins he doesn't win you a Super Bowl, but he wins you games, and sometimes that's all you need. The NFC North, which is Minnesota, Green Bay, Detroit, and
Chicago.
I'm missing one. Chicago. That's a tough one. That's a toss-up between Detroit and Green Bay, I feel.
It is. Do you trust the young team in Green Bay, the young quarterback in Jordan Love, or do you go with the team that last year had a huge lead in the NFC Championship game on the road in Detroit? It's tough. I would roll with Detroit going into this year. I still think it's a little too early for Green Bay. I think they're a good team. They're certainly a playoff team this year, but I'm going to go with Detroit when it comes to putting in a parlay here.
Yeah, so I'm a little against what they paid Jordan Love because Jordan Love looks spectacular for half a season. But that's all it was half a season. And I'm not convinced that that's going to last forever. So I'm going Lions. Lions are good. Jared Goff wins games, man. I don't care. He's the most slept on quarterback in football. He really is. Like he's not going to win you a Super Bowl, but he's going to get you there. And he's going to give you a shot because he's not going to lose you games. So I'm going the Lions. I feel that one. And then the West, I mean, I think this is also a pretty easy answer. The 49ers, Seattle, maybe. The Rams, maybe. But I think the 49ers would really have to struggle to not find themselves there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. They're the same team, basically. And then they added a couple of nice pieces. Obviously, unfortunate what happened to Ricky Pearsall, but I think he's going to have a pretty good impact late in the season for them still. And looking at this team, there's not many holes on the San Francisco 49ers right now. Their window might be closing, but it's still open at the moment. And you look at that division, they're clearly the better team.
Yeah, I agree. It's tough to go against them and the Chiefs as we currently stand. So we're going Miami Dolphins, Houston Texans, Baltimore Ravens. That's a tough one to say out loud. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Atlanta Falcons, Detroit Lions, and San Francisco 49ers. We'll match that, my friend. We'll toss the I mean, you didn't even have to tempt me. I would have matched that parlay any day of the week. But we'll also make sure that we're doing a giveaway as well. Win or lose, doesn't matter. You guys are getting a giveaway by the end of the season. All right, let's keep it trucking. What else we got?
You said you wanted to go to Vibing with the Dogs, who asked, so it doesn't concern you at all that this is Russell Wilson's third team in 4 years?
Yeah, so I wanted to jump to this one next because I wanted to make sure that it was relevant with our conversation about the captain. And yes, it very much so does concern me that Russell Wilson has played for 3 teams in 4 years. It should concern everybody that Russell Wilson has played for 3 teams in 4 years. But I don't think that has anything to do with him being named captain. I'm not a you got to name a captain because they're your best player type of guy. You name your captain based off of who's your best leader, and Russell Wilson is by far, hands down, no questions asked, the offense's best leader. But 0 questions. There's not even a close second. There's not even a remotely close second, if we're being honest. So it has nothing to do with his play. It has nothing to do with me believing whether or not he's going to get benched. The Steelers do not believe he's going to get benched. Doesn't mean I don't believe he's going to get benched. And that is why they named him captain. So it has nothing to do with his performance. It's everything to do with his leadership.
Let's go over to Dalton, who wants to know, what is your best guess on when Fautanu and Roman Wilson are going to return to action?
Yeah, I think Fautanu plays week 1. I think Roman Wilson plays week 2. That would be my guess. Is Roman sits out week 1, returns in week 2, gets his time to kind of heal back in the field, play some practice. It's a different transition to come in here and play immediately as a wide receiver than a backup offensive tackle. Troy Fautanu, I expect to be ready for week 1 to be good by Sunday. I think they would have made a corresponding move by now if they thought he was going to miss some regular season time.
Let's go over to Marlon, who wants to know, do you think we can use Fautanu like we did Broderick last year and bring him in short yardage situations to start?
Yeah, I think that's what the situation will be. I mean, it's different because you have such good tight ends this year. So you have a Michael Pruitt, you have a Darnell Washington that could come in here and step in and play that blocking role, and they'll utilize those guys for sure. But Troy Fautanu will get some reps and some time at that jumbo tackle early in the season. And then I would imagine if he does start and Broderick moves to left, Dan Moore gets some time as that jumbo tackle as well. They use that a lot, and in Arthur Smith's offense, it makes a lot of sense.
Next question here is taking us off the football beat, but I'm not sure if you saw this yesterday, but have you listened to the song Bullets yet from Creed?
No, actually. I meant to yesterday because somebody I would guess he tossed it in the comments here.
Yep.
And I meant to, did not, will certainly. I didn't listen to, I drove back listening to podcasts. So it wasn't much music. At that point, I was exhausted. Fantasy football draft, had a couple of meetings, and then I jumped on the road, and it was like 4:00, and I was like, all right, let's beat the sun, pal. And we turned on some, I won't lie to you guys, Joe Rogan, and we just drove. It was a good one, though. It was a good one.
Let's go to Vibing with the Dogs, who says, is the captain's curse at quarterback real? Mitch gets benched in 2022. Genny get benched last year. I have a bad feeling that history is going to repeat itself for a third time.
Man, I don't know if it's we could call it a captain's curse for sure, but it might also just be a new quarterback curse because the Pittsburgh Steelers are in that. They're in that valley, my friend. That's where we're at. Is we talked forever when Ben was coming to the end of his career about how it is the furthest thing from guaranteed that you are going to find an 18-year future Hall of Famer immediately after Ben Roethlisberger. And everybody could talk about, the Ben screwed the Steelers by sticking around as long as he did. No, he didn't. He did not. The Steelers were going to find themselves here either way. It is the farthest thing from guaranteed that you're going to find a starting quarterback after a great one. And the Pittsburgh Steelers just haven't yet. And maybe that's now. Maybe it's not now. Who knows? But we are in that valley for sure.
Let's go to Deluxe Skittles, who says, have you been hearing rumors about DeAndre Hopkins? Is it something that should be being spoken about?
Yeah, I did hear the rumors, but I don't think that they're real rumors. I think it's just aggregation and tossing it out there and looking for stuff to write. It's bold predictions for 2024, that kind of stuff. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins would end up in Pittsburgh or Cleveland because I know that was the team that was mentioned potentially, but he'd have to be really bad, or the team would have to be really bad. And I don't think Tennessee is going to be really bad this year. They're not going to make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to be terrible.
Let's go over to Victor, who says, what do you think about a parlay, Najee anytime touchdown, Bijan anytime touchdown, and Russell Wilson over passing touchdowns?
Oh, I don't know what Russ's over passing touchdowns is, but I would take that. I would feel good about that. If it's 1.5, I would feel good about that. If it's a half, hammer it hard. Najee anytime touchdown, certainly. I don't know anything about Atlanta's offense, so I'm going to guess yes. I mean, I would imagine he gets in the end zone somehow, some way. But I would feel good about that parlay for sure.
Speaking about Russ this weekend and stat lines, Big Mabe wants to know, do you have a prediction for Russell Wilson's stat line this weekend?
I would go like a sound 200 yards, 205, a touchdown, no interceptions, maybe 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 2 sacks. 3 sacks maybe. But I would say he passes 200 yards, and I would say that he definitely throws a touchdown. And I'm not worried about interceptions because Russ doesn't really throw a lot of interceptions.
Matt Hyde wants to know how much blame should be going on the offensive line coach, Pat Meyer, for what we're seeing right now.
I don't think any yet. Obviously, there's some concern, and you monitor that concern. But Broderick came in as the most raw offensive tackle the Pittsburgh Steelers had, more raw than Dan Moore Jr. And they stuck him on the wrong side of the line, and they refused to put him back there. So back to the right side of the line. So you got to put that one on Mike Tomlin and their calls there. Isaac Seumalo's good. James Daniels is too developed to blame that on Pat Meyer. I mean, he should not be struggling. And you just had like Mason Cole isn't even on an NFL team right now. So that answers that question. Chuks Okorafor looks terrible with the Patriots. So that answers that question. I just don't think I think it's too early to put it on Pat Meyer. We'll get there eventually, but right now I'm putting it on Mike Tomlin.
Peter wants to know, do you have a prediction for who's on the inactive list for the Steelers in week 1?
Yeah, I could probably guess it. I would imagine Ryan McCollum is on there. That's one. Oh, this is tough. Jalen Elliott will be on there. That's 2. You're probably going to put, I would guess, a wide receiver. Scotty Miller, I guess, is inactive. So that's 3. And I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I would guess Roman Wilson doesn't play. Oh, so that removes Scotty Miller. Roman Wilson's not going to play. So we're still only at 3. They typically do 5 to 6. You got to think somebody. Oh, Logan Lee. That's 4. That's a definite. And 5. Beanie Bishop. I would say Beanie Bishop's 5.
Let's go to Joe next, who says, why didn't Justin get a fair shot in the quarterback battle? It was Russ the entire time.
The Steelers didn't bring Justin Fields in to be a starting quarterback. That's the simple answer here. They brought Russell Wilson in to starting quarterback. They brought Justin Fields in to be a backup quarterback. And that's what they wanted to happen. They obviously gave Justin a fair shake, and they wanted him to compete and show himself, and I think he did that, but they didn't bring these guys in to compete. They brought these guys in so that Justin Fields could be Russell Wilson's backup.
Let's go to Marlon Lewis, who wants to know, what jersey should I wear on Sunday? TJ Watt, Minka, Joe Green, Troy Polamalu, Lambert, or Kordell Stewart?
Kordell Stewart's a sneaky one, my friend. Sneaky one. I'd go TJ. You know, I'm a big TJ Watt jersey guy. I think it's that 90s sharp. It's slick. 39 would be my other choice. I like rocking current guys. You know, I'm obviously retired. Mean Joe Green is a big one. Troy's a big one. Jack Lambert's a fire jersey. But I would go TJ to start it off strong, especially just announced he's having a baby. You know what I mean? Celebrate him a little bit.
I'll go Kordell Stewart, and I'll tell you why. Because my wife has recently got into watching The Real Housewives of Everywhere. Now she's on Atlanta, and in the new season, Kordell Stewart is a cast member. So go with Kordell Stewart for that really weird reason.
That's crazy, actually. I did not know that.
Yeah. She said it, and I said, wait a minute. Let me see that screen. I was like, oh, this is from a while ago. This is from a while ago, but it is Kordell Stewart. So it was very interesting.
There you go.
Let's go over to the next question. Wants to know, what set of golf clubs do you guys use when you get out on the links?
Oh, I'm a TaylorMade guy. I rock all TaylorMades. Although I do have Callaway driver, but I'm a TaylorMade guy.
Yeah, I have a whole mix of everything. I'm not good enough to warrant paying for a nice set of clubs, so I have a lot of hand-me-downs that I've built a nice collection of clubs with, but I'm not good enough to invest in it yet. We're working on it.
You know when everybody graduates college and they buy themselves a big boy car, like that's, you know, this is my adult car, this is the first dumb purchase I've ever made. Mine was golf clubs. I was like, yeah, screw car, I'm getting clubs, and we got clubs, so here we are.
Let's go over to Eddie, who wants to know, with the brutal end of the schedule, how important is it for the Steelers to start strong this season?
Oh, it's ridiculously important. You know, I was watching the Rich Eisen show yesterday driving back, and he was talking about, you know, the Steelers not making the playoffs and not having a winning record and the possibility of that. And he said the same thing I was thinking. Like, if you start less than 6-3 in the first half of the season, chances are you have a shot at having a losing record. Like, that's where the Steelers stand. They have to win games, and they have to win them early. I think that they will win them early, and I believe that they will finish with a winning record until proven otherwise. I can't go against that. But it's incredibly important for them to win at least 6 games, maybe more, in the first half of the season.
Hollywood 931 says, is anybody other than me plotting on the Steelers drafting Dylan Raiola, the quarterback from Nebraska, who is notably Pat Mahomes' little cousin?
He have you seen the picture? He looks exactly like him.
Identical.
Too. It is
not just on the field, but off the field and walking in. It looked like a doppelganger.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. I will say that I'm all about it. I mean, after this weekend, it's tough to go against those dudes in LSU and Penn State and say those are not my favorites to be drafted by the Steelers, especially Aller, dude. Like, that guy, he's another Big Ben. He's a massive human being who could take a hit, and I'm a big fan. But anybody related to Patrick Mahomes, I am all about.
Let's go to Vibin' with the Dogs, who wants to know, who scores the first touchdown on offense?
Oh, You have a guess on this one?
I'm going to go Najee Harris, either Najee or Pat. I feel like those two are the two that they're going to look at most when they get in the red zone. And I just don't see a big play touchdown coming early in this game.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that one. I'm going to toss out a different name though, so that we have two options here. I'm going to go Pat Freiermuth. I think it's still a short yardage, nothing crazy, but I do think that he gets in the end zone. Just a nice little over the middle pass, let it go, and put some points on the board. I think that's his welcome to the NFL, and the announcers will say something like, Pat, who just signed a massive deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's my guess.
Let's go back to another college question while we have it here. I wouldn't mind seeing Cam Ward from the University of Miami in a Steelers uniform. Have you seen him play?
So, yeah, I have actually. I think everybody watched Miami just smoke the Florida Gators. And I think, I'm a big fan of Cam Ward. I think he's really good. I would be about that too. I'm interested to see how the rest of the season shakes out for these guys, because there are a lot of names out there that we thought were going to be. I mean, that DJ, whatever the dude is from Florida State, I can never pronounce his last name. Former Clemson guy, former Oregon State guy, probably again going to be former Florida State guy at some point. Was supposed to be a dude who's on the rise. He can make it big. He could be the dude. Well, it'll continue to shake out. But I think I'm very excited to see where these guys and where this class falls, because I think it's going to be much better than we anticipated it being. And Ward is definitely on that list. Also, shout out to the University of Miami, really the University of Florida, for being complete idiots and putting their recruiting section next to a tunnel where the visitors are going to walk through.
Yeah, that's I did not know that one. That is a rough look.
Oh, if you go look up and on Twitter after the show, it is literally 40 University of Miami guys walking by all these recruits saying, come to the University of Miami, we run Florida, come to the University of Miami. And I bet you half of those recruits are going to the University of Miami.
Let's go down to Barry Goldberg. Appreciate you as always. Says, what about Jamal Agnew, who the Steelers brought in for a punt and kick return tryout?
Yeah, I was interested in that one. I think he's a pretty good punt returner and kick returner. The interesting part here is that the new NFL rules mandate that two guys are back there receiving kicks. So you got Kordell Patterson. I would guess Jaylen Warren's the other guy, but how much strain do you want to put on to do with a hamstring injury? So maybe that's an option. If I had to take a guess, Jaylen is back there, and they also test out guys like Scotty Miller and Calvin Austin back there as well. But Agnew's good, and if you're going to use him strictly as a return specialist, I think that makes a lot of sense. I could also see them maybe signing him to the practice squad and elevating him just to kind of give him a test run in the first week or two.
Marlon wants to know, did it also sound like Mike Tomlin likes Scotty Miller at wide receiver 3, potentially over Calvin Austin the third?
No, he was impressed by Scotty Miller, but Calvin Austin's the wide receiver 3. It's Scotty impressed, but Scotty should have come in here not impressed. And I think that was more of the point there, not he's surpassing anybody, more so he shouldn't have had a shot at this roster, and he did. I think that's what I took away from that. Calvin's still the dude. He's still listed as the wide receiver 3 on the depth chart, and the Steelers want Calvin Austin to work out. So I didn't take it that way. I took it more so as Scotty just impressed and earned himself the roster spot that he got.
To borrow a Tomlinism here, are you leaving the light on for a reunion with Martavis Bryant? Would that be a good idea? Asks 540 AHK.
I don't know. We haven't seen much of Martavis Bryant. I have no idea if he's still good at football. We'll eventually hopefully find out. I hope he gets an opportunity somewhere. I'm always pro player. That being said, the Steelers would not consider that reunion. I just have a hard time believing that is on the table for them. That's not the type of guy they're looking for. They moved on from him years ago, and they did it for, purposes that I believe will not render a reunion anytime soon. So I just don't think the Steelers have that in their wheelhouse.
Next question is, how many yards do you expect rushing-wise, Najee versus Jaylen Warren?
I think both of them get pretty close to 100, if not over 100. I could see Najee cracking 100. They're going to run the ball a lot in this game, so I could see both of them getting close, maybe like 85 to 75, something like that, 85 to 65, something like that. Najee would be the favorite to have more. But all it takes is one Jalen burst to put him over 100 yards. So we'll see what happens. But I would say like 85, 90 yards for Najee and 60, 65 yards for Jalen.
Let's go to Eddie the Great, who wants to know, with the NIL being what it is now, what are the odds of finding gems at smaller schools, i.e. Big Ben from Miami of Ohio, at the quarterback position?
The quarterback position's tough. It's definitely tough. They're going to have to be like last year breakout guys, which doesn't always work out. But at the same time, you're going to get guys that aren't good enough to start at Alabama and Ohio State and Georgia and all these teams, and they won't be chasing the NIL money. They'll just be chasing the opportunity, and they'll get that opportunity, and they'll leave before the NIL opens. So it's going to obviously narrow that window. It's going to narrow your choices, but I still think a couple of them squeeze through the cracks and get out there, and it is a possibility. You'll also get dudes who just want to be loyal to their team. Quinion Mitchell is a good one. And I know he doesn't play quarterback, but he made it very like I wasn't leaving Toledo. Wasn't happening. And I think you'll get guys like that come in here, get an opportunity, become a stud because they were overlooked in high school, and say, I'm going to stick with this team because they gave me the opportunity.
Let's move over to Biggie, who wants to know, who's getting the first interception of the 2024 season?
Dante Jackson. That is my guess. Dante Jackson gets it, and everybody knows who Dante Jackson is after he gets it, because I am tired of people asking who the cornerback 2 is, because it's Dante Jackson, and he's very good. So I'm going Dante Jackson.
And let's go over to the last question we have as of right now from Hank Lee, who asks, do we know who the announcers are for this week 1 matchup between the Steelers and the Atlanta Falcons?
I don't off the top of my head, to be honest. I don't really pay attention to the announcers just because I don't watch the games. I'm at the games, so I don't get to hear the announcers. But I don't. Do you know if they've been announced?
Yeah, I just looked it up. It's going to be on Fox. Joe Davis, Greg Olsen, and Pam Oliver got the game for week 1.
That's a good one. I mean, Greg Olsen is phenomenal, so I'd be into that for sure. And Joe what's
Davis.
His name? Joe Davis. He's a baseball guy, isn't he?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure.
Off the top of my head.
I'm almost positive I'm almost positive he did something with Ohtani. He announced something with Ohtani that stood out. But he's also very good.
Dodgers. So
yeah. But I mean, Greg Olsen's as good as it gets. So that's a good crew.
We do have one more from Kevin Johnson, who wants to know, do you think Justin Fields is going to be used like Kordell Stewart, like Slash in week 1?
I do. I mean, not as a wide receiver, but he is going to be used. There are going to be some Justin Fields plays for sure. He will definitely get a run or two, and they'll see what happens from there. But I do believe Justin Fields touches the field in week 1.
That's a wrap for today's questions then.
Awesome. With that said, guys, we are heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. We will be back tomorrow. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.